by the generous support of the Alaska Native Health Board.
The Alaska Commercial Company, Alaska's supplier of food, family apparel, and general Alaskan merchandise since 1867. And Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you in part by the Public Information Office of the North Slope Borough.
There's a heartbeat louder than thunder. Revolution is in the air. There's a heartbeat deep inside our mother. Are you too cool to care? There's a heartbeat louder than thunder.
Heartbeat Alaska. I'm Jeannie Green along with Gary Fife, bringing you native news from across the north. Thank you so much for joining us. On today's program, we travel to the North Slope Borough. Tina Corwin reports on ancient remains that have been found in Borough. I talk later with Greg Brown, who 2 years ago was cited for killing a seal in Glacier Bay. All that, plus much more, and the powwow directory. But first, here's Gary Fife with Native News across the nation.
This is Native News Across the Nation. I'm Gary Fife. In Alaska, the Exxon Corporation has made a settlement with native villages hard hit during the 1989 Exxon Valdez oil spill. The Anchorage Daily News reported on July 25th the oil industry giant and lawyers for 18 villages had reached an out-of-court settlement. Exxon will pay $20 million to Alaska natives of Prince William Sound for the natives' loss of subsistence hunting and gathering in the wake of the 11 million gallon oil spill. But it was a partial agreement, thus covering the estimated value of wild game the natives were unable to harvest, but claims for the impact on culture could still be possible. The Pitlick chief, Gary Comstock, said, "We got what we were asking for, so we were really pleased with the amount." Native American communities have not been excluded when it comes to seeing teen gang violence, but a series of workshops on the subject is being conducted this month and in September. The Native Youth Violence Prevention Workshop is being sponsored by the University of Oklahoma in Minneapolis, Phoenix, and in Seattle. The workshops will provide training to help participants develop strategies and techniques to effectively deal with a growing gang violence problem among Native American youth. For more information, contact Oklahoma University Health Promotions Programs in Norman, Oklahoma. With all the delays in reforming the national health care system, a group in northern Arizona could be showing them the way. Natives who are patients of the Indian Health Service in northern Arizona should have an easier time getting the health care they need, and it should be closer to home. The Navajo Times reported that 6 area hospitals have formed the Sacred Mountain Healthcare Alliance, and they've come up with a streamlined computer program for IHS patient referrals. Under the system, doctors from the federal system will call a toll-free number when the need comes to send a patient to care requiring an outside medical agency. That system then links up the two and determines the nearest and most appropriate facility to refer the patient to. After decades of struggle, the Lumbee people of North Carolina have taken a major step toward tribal self-determination. Tribal leaders met on Independence Day to sign into law a newly approved tribal constitution. The document gives the Lumbees a formal structure in which to wage their continuous battle to gain recognition as a tribe in the eyes of the federal government. The 43,000-member group has been trying unsuccessfully to meet the requirements of federal acknowledgement, and they've also taken their case to Capitol Hill. In the past, that effort has met with a cold reception with opposition from the government and some native tribes. And finally, the tribal government of the Yakama Nation in Washington has flexed its governmental muscle against creditors trying to repossess the personal property of tribal members living on the reservation. The tribe has enacted an ordinance requiring the repo men to get written permission before coming onto the reservation to seize tribal members' vehicles or possessions. The Yakama Nation Review reports the tribe took its action after several Yakamas complained of repossessions taking place under questionable circumstances. This is Native News Across the Nation. I'm Gary Fife for Heartbeat, Alaska.
Hey, thanks to these airbags here, this job is now a piece okay, Claire.
But Vince...
Yeah, I'll tell you something, partner. I just might stick around a few more years.
But Vince...
No more dashboard du jour or Vince under glass, huh?
But Vince...
Look out!
Even with airbags, Vince, you still got to remember to buckle your safety belt.
Now you tell me.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
We have always felt in harmony with the land.
Chakome, tapiwa, ta skumok, ta tapiachu, kenok anesche, matapiwa, makaspumos, akun.
Help the Soil Conservation Service help our Earth. Call us today. We owe it to our children.
A special hello to our viewers across Canada. Recently, I received a call from Maxwell, Labrador, and that's way over on the East Coast. It was very nice to hear from you, and I'm looking forward to your video. I also received some letters and phone calls from Arizona. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much. Also, Pablo, Montana, and the Indians on the Flathead Reservation. We're so pleased to have you with us. Let's travel now to the top of Alaska, to Borough, with North Slope Borough News and Tina Corwin.
Last Tuesday in Borough, archaeologist Howard Maxwell, an instructor with the Arctic Sivimun Ilisagavi College, inspected a site near the Ukoksi area where human remains have emerged from the rapidly eroding bluff. He was accompanied on his inspection by Ann Jensen and Glenn Sheehan of SJS Archaeological Services, who are completing this summer's work at the Point Franklin Archaeological Site. Their preliminary report suggests that human remains of a female emerged from what seems to be a prehistoric semi-subterranean house. The body could be as much as 200 to 500 years old and may be contemporary with the frozen family found at the site of Mound 44 in the early 1980s.
There's ice over the body rather than floor timbers. It doesn't appear that the body was crushed by floor timbers. It may be because those timbers have already eroded off the edge that was the case. We'll never know that for sure. But at least the lower portion of the body appears to be covered by ice, which would appear to have flooded into a prehistoric house.
After inspecting the site, the archaeologist and staff from the Inupiat History, Language and Culture Commission met with the Borough Elders Advisory Committee.
They said that they would like the remains to be treated with respect and that they would like them to eventually be reinterred with a small ceremony.
Archaeologists plan to stabilize and protect the area until the proper equipment and personnel could be brought in to perform the excavation. More information will be provided as it becomes available. Other archaeological work was in the news on the North Slope recently when Inupiat elders visited excavations at the site of Tagarook, an old village near Point Franklin, east of Wainwright. From the moment the twin Otter-carrying Inupiat History, Language and Culture Commission members landed on the beach near the excavations, the elders and the archaeologists were discussing the old village, talking about artifacts, and exchanging information. The scientists had the chance to learn from the elders who shared their knowledge of the area and of traditional crafts, tools, and terminology learned in their childhoods. The elders gained a clearer understanding of what the archaeologists are doing at Tagarook and learned a little bit about archaeology. Tagarook was a large village at one time, and archaeologists believe it was inhabited for hundreds of years before being abandoned in the 1700s, before the arrival of non-natives.
Then, in 1871, when 31 Yankee whaling ships were wrecked out here, people decided, we think, let's go live there rather than take stuff home with us. We'll move our homes, because there was all this good metal and lumber and everything. So they reoccupied the place, and they made traditional style semi-subterranean houses, but they used tongue and groove planks that were painted, because that's where they got them, and they had all kinds of metal.
Completing the excavations is urgent because beach erosion is rapidly washing away artifacts and the story they tell. The elders helped deliver a load of artifacts to the field lab in Wainwright, set up to clean and preserve the finds. The fieldwork is funded by the National Science Foundation with the support of the Inupiat History, Language and Culture Commission. For Heartbeat Alaska and the North Slope Borough, I'm Tina Corwin. Klinakbuk.
Thank you, Tina, and the Public Information Office from the North Slope Borough. Recently, I spoke with a gentleman named Gregg Brown. 2 years ago, he was cited for shooting a seal in Glacier Bay, Alaska. Now, the problem with this was he was getting the seal for traditional ceremonial purposes. The court case went on for 2 years. He recently found out he was exonerated.
I am honoring my father's ancestors' first Tlingit style.
Tlingit style is a way of life for Gregg Brown. He was born in Hoona. Recently, though, the language of law is a style he has become accustomed to. 2 years ago, he was arrested for shooting a seal in Glacier Bay, Alaska. In 1925, the U.S. government proclaimed Glacier Bay a national monument. Historically, the Tlingit people have used Glacier Bay and much of the surrounding area as a place to hunt and fish. Glacier Bay was owned by Tlingit clans who have inhabited and used the bay for at least the past 2,000 years.
For my ancestors, it was a place where we gathered all of our traditional foods. All our traditional foods came from there. All our camps were up there during the summer before the National Park Service made a park. And when it became a park, they pushed us out of there. They burned our smokehouses.
Policies regarding subsistence uses in Glacier Bay are not clearly stated, therefore could be used out of context. Place names for Glacier Bay reflect the significance of the area, translated such as the main place for the Hoona people and the Hoona breadbasket. Glacier Bay was owned by the Chukanite and the Wushkatan clans, people who now reside primarily in the village of Hoona. After 2 years of exile, Gregg Brown is exonerated, but he still feels he did nothing wrong. The evolving legal framework persistent in Alaska recognizes the village rights by rural residents. Gregory Brown believes he did not violate any laws when he exercised his God-given right by taking a seal from Glacier Bay. The seal was to be used for the sole preparation for the traditional Tlingit custom
and they were videotaping me all the time. I was on the beach, and then
Did
when
they
I
handcuff you?
they didn't handcuff me. When the officer came aboard the boat, they were videoing us all the way out, and then when we got out to the boat, they came alongside after we had pulled the seal up, me and my uncles and my friend. There was 4 of us there. We pulled the seal up and we put it on the boat. Then they came alongside. Then he told us it was illegal for us to do this up there. And my first reaction to it was, we're Indians, you know, because in the law it says that as long as you're a native living on the Pacific Rim, you can subsist where you want. And they use the word subsistence, but subsistence isn't the word that we use. We use traditional foods, because it's our traditional foods that we're going after. It's not subsistence to us. It's just a word that they use, you know, to categorize our food. But you see all our food for sale on the shelves of the stores now. They're all for sale. King crabs for sale, king salmon's for sale, clams and cockles are for sale, Dungeness crab is for sale.
Gregg Brown was exonerated, yet he feels no victory. The exoneration applies only to his case. It was a judgment on no merit, that is, not based on freedom of religion or the right to bear arms. He cannot be arrested again. However, his people can be.
I would like this story to say that we are still the owners of Glacier Bay. That's the bottom line. That all our people, all our old elders, all want to move back to Glacier Bay. They still think there's a chance that we'll still get back into Glacier Bay. And I believe that we will be back in Glacier Bay. Glacier Bay is ours. It is ours. In the beginning of my speech, when I say Aklishkohas Eani Ae, this is my ancestors' land. That's what it means.
Gregg Brown
And
is moving
that's
home to Hoona, Alaska. His future plans include building a house on his grandfather's allotment. Where is that located? Well, where else but Glacier Bay. Before we move on to powwows across the nation, I have an important announcement to make. In Anchorage, Alaskan Native women are victims of violence more than the rest of the female population. In fact, Alaskan Native women comprise only 3.2% of the Anchorage female population, yet they represent 22% of domestic violence cases and 19% of sexual assaults in Anchorage. So, there will be an Alaskan Natives Women Group meeting, and that's August 11th at 6:30 p.m. Please contact Charmaine Ramus at 343-6589. The meeting is to gather to try and make Anchorage a safer place for Native women. Very worthwhile meeting. Please try and attend if you're in the Anchorage area. Let's move on now to powwows across the nation.
crashed on the Hall of Fame's impressive.
Yeah, look.
Ben hurt.
He tried to get safety belts and chariots.
Ah.
Alexander Graham Belt.
Watson, buckle up. Watson, buckle up.
Oh, look, it's the Mona Lisa.
Not much to smile about if people aren't buckling up.
Vince, by telling people safety belts save lives, do you think we'll end up here?
Let's hope so.
Ludwig von Brake's broken.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
There's a heartbeat.
Thank you so much for joining us on Heartbeat Alaska. I'm Jeannie Green. Of course, with me is Gary Fife. And speaking of Gary Fife, we mentioned earlier that he had attended the Native American Journalists Association conference in Atlanta, Georgia, and he won an award there. It's my idea. I want to show it to you. It's called the Milestone Award, presented to Gary Fife for significant contributions to the growth, stability, and spirit of the Native American Journalists Association. It's a milestone award. This was Gary's last year on the board. Right. Was this a surprise?
Absolutely. My colleagues on the board and everyone involved with the staff had kept it a complete surprise. So when they called my name out during the ceremonies, I was absolutely stunned. I had no idea this was coming down the pike, and felt like you could knock me over with a feather at that point.
Well, Gary has been a journalist for 20-some odd years, and this is a very, very important award.
Well, they say a career is just a job that's lasted too long, but it was nice. Nice to have recognition by your peers. There's absolutely nothing like it.
Absolutely. I think it's fabulous. Please, if you have video and we haven't covered your village, get your camcorder out, whether you live in Montana or in Arizona, across Canada and Greenland or Alaska. Please send us your video and we'll put it on right here on Heartbeat Alaska for Gary Fife and I. Thank you so much for joining us.
I was really pleased with that.
I bet you were. This is really something that's really beautiful.
Hit in the mind.